Hello, viewers, and welcome to another episode of In the Hot Seat. With us today is Mr. Lenroy James, who is the Junior Shadow Minister for Land, Environment, and Climate Change, and is also the General Secretary for the PNP Patriots. But we still want to find out just who is Lenroy James. Mr. James, thanks for joining us today.
It is my pleasure to join you today on your program.
Okay. You won't be someone that is out there. We heard your names, we heard all the names mentioned recently, so we realize that you're new on the scene, generally, all right? And we'd like to find out more about who you are, right? So, for example, where were you born, Mr. James?
All right, I was born in the cool hills of Manchester, from a little division in northwest Manchester called Spurtree Division. I'm from Lincoln. Right. I am a son of the soil in that side. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, which school you went to? That type of thing. Tell us so we can know. Get an idea of just what you're all about. Which high school and which primary schools you went to?
All right. The beautiful parish of Manchester has some of the best schools, and I attended both of them. Mm-hmm. I attended Bel-Air Prep, and I went to Manchester High, and then I went back to Bel-Air High to continue my studies after fifth form. All
right, cool. While there, what would have been your, or should I put it, the persons, or for example, the persons who inspired you in life and who contributed to making who you are? Who would some of those persons have been? Easy question.
And, that's a very simple and short answer. My father was a very, very big influence in my life. He was someone who always easy of address, right? Very well spoken and very knowledgeable on numerous factors. So he has been the person who has guided me through, he has paved the way for me to achieve what I have achieved today, and I'm eternally grateful to him, and he'll forever be in our thoughts.
Okay, so big up Pops. All right, cool. Was it a situation where when were you introduced to politics and political life and all that type of thing?
So, interestingly, the current councillor for the Spurtree Division is a family friend for a number of years. Okay. Also, I should point out, I have friends on both sides.
Okay.
Right, some very, very good friends on both sides. So my exposure to politics started with some friends who are on the opposite side of me.
Okay.
At this point in time.
And wear the green shirts.
Right, we don't wear the same color shirts.
All right.
Right? And but we are pretty good friends, and over time, I got interested in basically political life and political ideology, because you realize that one of the best ways to impact change and positive change is through political involvement, and a lot of persons have benefited from things that come through a political ideology. And if I just step back into history a little bit, if you think about a lot of the persons who were able to get access to education at a particular time in our history, right? That came out of a political ideology, right? So it is now, when you get old enough and you start to understand and you start to read widely and you start to understand where it is that you're coming from, what is it that's the best fit for Jamaica. And when you look at some of the most successful countries around the world, it is actually socialist principles that they use. So
it's a result of the political ideologies.
Exactly. Okay. So when you look at certain well-developed healthcare systems, right, in other countries, in other jurisdictions, right, if you look at it, that is a creature of a political ideology which leans more in line to what the PNP's ideology is. So it is doing that sort of research that now led me to decide that, all right, I can give back and I can serve, and I believe that the People's National Party is the way to go.
Okay. Well, I sort of got a bit ahead of myself because you were invited primarily because we want to get a better feel of what one of the junior ministers, as junior shadow ministers. I hope I'm not, I hope nobody sees me as preempting, all right? But it's probably just a slip of the tongue. It's just a slip of the tongue. But anyway, while at school though, as I said, I got a bit ahead of myself. While at school, what was your training? What were you exposed to in terms of why you were chosen for this role as far as land and environment? So when you went to college, while in high school, what was happening that would have influenced you to make this type of decision, to accept this type of role?
Okay. Well, initially being a young bug-eyed little individual running around, I had some challenges trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do with myself. Mm-hmm. So I explored automech, I explored business administration. Okay. And actually at the time it was business administration, accounting, mm-hmm. And then I landed on some environmental studies. Okay. And realized that, I kind of like this. Okay. I kind of like this. And being outdoors and being able to interact with people, being able to interact with different things out there in the environment, some things that you're definitely afraid of, mm-hmm. And you have to interact with them. Those sorts of things were what made me realize where my passion lies. Okay. And fast forward a couple of years, and you realize that for a couple of years I've worked for an environmental management consultancy company. So shameless plug. That company is here.
Give them a big up.
It's here in Kingston. LDJ and Co Limited is the name of that company here in Kingston. Mm-hmm. Environmental management consultancy.
So is it one of those companies that whenever someone is putting up a building or something like that, they would have to get like an environmental impact study from to see? Okay.
That is correct. The company does environmental impact assessments, basically everything environmental related, environmental statements, environmental studies, mm-hmm. and we also do follow-up evaluations and monitoring and that sort of thing.
Okay. So things like what is happening now when we put a long pipe and send the effluent way out into the ocean. That's the type of thing that place, I'm just saying one of the things that happens environmentally in Jamaica that I have a problem with, but that's one of the things that you do a study on.
Right, things like that we would actually do the study on it. We would actually supply whatever equipment would be needed to do your continuous and ongoing monitoring, mm-hmm. to ensure that you're not discharging anything that ought not to be discharged. Okay.
So while at that company, without naming any names, would you say that a lot of the companies that use their services did follow through with some of the recommendations and so on? Because I know that sometimes you might end up in your field, you would have probably end up having to be a whistleblower if you don't.
And that's where it comes. No, that's where the whole part of professionalism comes into play, because if there is an issue, we would normally liaise with our clients on that issue and then ensure that it is fixed properly. So instead of, if it is a matter that is of a significant nature, mm-hmm. you would have that dialogue and inform that, look, based on what this is, we are duty bound to report this to the authorities. Just as if you go into your backyard one day and you see a body lying there, mm-hmm. right? You can't just cover it up and say, boy, that never happened. You are duty bound, right? So you might have to have a conversation with your neighbor and say, look here, I found this thing here. We're going to have to go and deal with that sort of thing. Okay. So but there's always a level of professionalism that is always maintained.
Okay. All right, we're going to go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Do you need your wedding videotaped? Do you need a commercial or an interview done? Then call Sunshine Video Production. We videotape and edit functions, graduations, stage shows, music videos, and even funerals. We have a video studio and offer help with your marketing and promotional planning. So WhatsApp or call us at 883-0525. Yes, we are here to talk about your role as Shadow Minister and also as General Secretary, but we still want to know about Mr. James. I gather that you are very much a family man, sir, all right? And give you the opportunity to mention and say hi to the persons who helped to make you what you are. And yes, father played a role, but tell us.
Well, the thing for me is that my children, they have played a very huge role as motivations for me. Because normally, when you think you quite have life figured out, and that little child comes into your world, right? Then you realize that you have nothing at all figured out. So I have 3 lovely children, 2 daughters and a son. Well, they all live overseas now.
Okay.
19-year-old Zoria, 16-year-old Zalani, and 9-year-old Zachary.
Okay. 19, I wouldn't have guessed because you look like 19. So you're early out of the blocks. But anyway. All right. So yeah, let us big up the family because it helps to keep us grounded. It helps to keep us grounded.
Indeed. They do help to keep us grounded. And also being big on environment, for me, I think always, what are my children going to inherit, right? What's going to happen? Exactly. We pass this way but once, and how do we leave it for those who are coming behind us? Okay. And we are already responsible for these little ones that we've brought into the world. So we have to
no choice of theirs?
No choice of theirs. So it is left up to us to make sure that we're doing the right thing for them.
Okay. Well said. I see, before we deal with the Shadow Minister part, I see where I did some research. You are the General Secretary for the Patriots. Firstly, for the sake of the viewers, who are the PNP Patriots?
Okay, the PNP Patriots, we are the young professional affiliate of the People's National Party. So our membership is open to young professionals across the island and across the diaspora.
Okay. But to back up a little, you had mentioned in the previous segment that you were exposed to politics early. Why did you choose the PNP?
And that is a simple answer. It's not difficult at all. I believe that political ideology is what forms government policy. And when you look at the political ideologies of the PNP, those ideologies are best suited, right, for persons like us who want to come up and make a difference, because a lot of times there's a lot of noise around and persons say, if you believe in a socialist policy or socialist type policy, it now means that you are not supporting wealth for others and all that sort of thing. When really and truly, if you just take a moment and read through what the policies are, read through what the agendas are, nobody is saying you're going to take from Peter and give to Paul. It is saying that each person will have equal access to the opportunities to be able to make something of themselves. That is all it is. It is not about taking from somebody to give to somebody else. That does not work in any dispensation.
But then how do you answer now, so much for the ideology, but the ideology has to be piloted by an entity. In this case, the entity is the People's National Party. Now, how do you deal with the person who is saying that right now the party not viable with all the recent turbulence? How do you respond to the person who says that, the party is not viable right now?
And just as with any form of relationship, you will find that.
But this relationship needs some healing, right?
Yes, just with any relationship, you'll find that persons will have differing arguments will come about, Different positions will be put forward. But at the end of the day, I trust that the People's National Party has been around for over 80 years. It is one of the noblest institutions in this island, and I believe that the party is sufficiently capable and has the resources available to it to heal these issues. So it's a very simple thing, right? Those persons or whatever issues are there, right? Those individuals, right? I believe deep down in my core that those individuals will be able to sit down and work it out through whatever methodology that they find to work it out. But at the end of the day, we will only be stronger for it.
Okay, okay. So you're suggesting then that the foundation will bear true. That's what you're suggesting. But what do you say about some of the persons that really don't believe in some of the founding philosophies, or don't believe that some of these founding philosophies are still relevant?
And when I get posed with such questions, I simply ask persons to tell me exactly which one of those policies are not relevant today. Mm-hmm. And if those policies are not relevant, which political party do you see that has the policies that are relevant today then? Because if you...
Yeah, wait. There are still people who will look on some of the socialist ideologies and don't feel that in this modern age it is still relevant. You know, there are persons who would say that because we have all been going after an American model where everything is, you know, capitalism and so on. So what do you say about that?
So I will just simply ask then, a model of universal access to healthcare, okay, that's a socialist model. Are you saying now that in this day and age we ought not to have that? We need those sorts of things now more than ever. When you look at even how COVID-19 is being handled, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the decisions that are being taken in a manner that if you were to apply socialist principles, right, to how you're rolling it out, mm-hmm, you would have a little bit better take-up and a little bit better feedback. But as it is now, persons don't have any faith in the system because persons don't trust the system, okay, right? And a big part of building that trust, right, comes back to when you look at what is it that, basically, what is the benefit to the persons out there from government? And benefit don't mean handouts, right? Because the responsibility of government, right, is to ensure that you have an environment that everybody can feel safe, everybody can have access to healthcare, everybody can have access to basically whatever the social needs are, you can have access to it. And when you see these sorts of failings and you look at the alignments that are there in terms of who is doing what and that sort of thing, you realize that really and truly an approach that pays more attention to the social needs of persons is what would help to solve these problems. And again, if you look across the world, countries that are successful at this thing, right, have not gone out and tell people that, look here, if you don't take the vaccine, we're going to beat you over the head with a stick. That's not what has been happening. It's just that persons are sufficiently motivated to go out and get it because they understand that our government has put these systems in place, right? They've been benefiting from the system over the years because they've been accessing the high-quality healthcare, right? They've been accessing the high-quality education, and they understand that, look, right, the government actually works for you and the government actually cares for you. But when you now end up in a situation where you have that trust deficit, right, it's not an issue of an outdated socialist principle. It's an issue of what are the persons who are sitting there today doing to solve the credibility problems that they're having.
But you do realize, though, you have a job on your hands because even the word socialism does not, it's not as attractive. You have a marketing job on your hands, though. You do realize that. Because socialism in a lot of circles doesn't connotate to something that everybody is excited about, even though persons might be excited about the benefit. But even the use of the word some of the time, right, it makes the marketing job harder.
And not necessarily, because
All right.
if you look at it from a perspective, we're in 2021 now, and I'm sure you would have heard this thing that, oh no, we don't accept labels anymore. And you see what the issue is with that, where certain things are being said and certain positions are being taken and are being said, no, you can't identify something based on this and based on that, based on a single line or a single word. Now, if we move towards more of showcasing what it is that the benefits are in terms of what is it that these models do for persons, how is it that it is better, right? Then we don't need to be worried about what it's called.
So you want to market the benefits?
We will have to look at that.
Okay. All right, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be right here. We'll be right back. Do you need your wedding videotaped? Do you need a commercial or an interview done? Then call Sunshine Video Production. We videotape and edit functions, graduations, stage shows, music videos, and even funerals. We have a video studio and offer help with your marketing and promotional planning. So WhatsApp or call us at 883-0525. Welcome back, viewers. When we went for the break, we were discussing the marketing, right, of a word that can be touchy, right? And the word basically is socialism and socialist, and a lot of things are of a social nature, but I guess generally, because a government is by its own nature a social entity, because it has to deal with people. But I guess such a bad job has been done on the word that as a label, it's not one that everybody, But so much for that. We want to move on. I see where you are the General Secretary for the PNP Patriots. What is the relevance of that group right now? What role does that group play in, especially what is happening now, right? But is that separate from the youth, the PNP youths? Please enlighten us.
Okay. So the PNP Patriots is the young professional arm of the People's National Party. So that means that our focus and our membership is made up of young professionals. The youth organization focus a little bit different. So the youth organization, you'll find persons from maybe age 13 up to about age 30 in that space. And then from you hit 30 now moving forward, you would now have the patriots that would be there. So, and when you look at the composition of our membership, and well, our membership lists are not made public. So that's the first thing, right? Because it's not about going out there to broadcast and say, oh, these persons are our members. But we have members that come from every industry, every sphere, and because of that, we are able to provide candidate support. During elections, we're able to provide continuing education support. We're also able to provide a little bit of welfare and outreach. Even when COVID-19 just started, the Patriots, we led on care packages for a number of constituencies. So the thing is, we are focused, right? Because being young professionals, you know that our focus might be a little bit different, where you're not towing a hard party line and you're not coming out you're not always coming out with to say that everything is party first, it's party first, as in some other places where other professionals, young professional arms are. We believe that we provide support for the party, we provide support for the country, we also provide support for our members. And we have our regular think tanks, we have our regular forums, and we try to contribute to society that way. Instead of making it seem as if, oh, if you're a young professional affiliate, it means that the only thing you do is you put on an orange shirt and you walk up and down on the roadside.
So, but some people probably feel like that's the only way that they can contribute at that time. Right. Right. But that's not what the Patriots are about.
Right, and what
Okay.
and again, the Patriots, the focus is really on supporting young professionals,
Okay.
engaging young professionals, and ensuring that we fully support our party as well, because we share the same ideology, we share the same beliefs. So we ensure that. So if you look at how we speak, if you look at how we do things, we try to ensure that at all times we reflect the image of what a young professional is, and also an image that is favorable for the party as well. Because I mean, it's a political entity, right? And we have to understand there is a political role to be played, but there's a time and a space for the politics, and there's a time and a space where we all operate as Jamaicans, because the results of bad policies and bad government decisions is all of us have to live with it, right?
Point.
We're going into this weekend now wondering what's going to happen next week because of a poorly implemented policy of the government 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. So you're saying that the Patriots weren't all that excited about the rolling back of some of the time, the restrictions?
All right. From COVID-19 just came about, the Patriots, we went public and we said what we believe is that the first thing the government needs to do is to increase the amount of testing that was happening.
Okay.
That's what we're saying, because some issues
That wasn't happening.
That was not happening. And some issues are not political. So we're not saying this.
Point.
We're not saying this trying to score points to say that we came out and said that from a long time, and the government this and the government that. No, we came out and said, look here, increase the number of testing that you're doing, because by increasing the number of tests that you're doing, you have a better understanding as to exactly where you are with this. It was selective testing at one point in time, right? And we're saying
certain people,
exactly,
certain like the police and the soldiers and the nurses were being tested.
But let me just, if you remember when it just started, right? There were no facilities offering private testing. All tests had to go through the government.
Yes.
And it means that you basically had to be sick, feel sick, get to the doctor, and the doctor says, I think you need to be tested for COVID based on these parameters, and you go and you do your test.
It was open testing.
Exactly. Now, if you feel like it, go and get tested, right? You may have it and you don't even know that you have it. So we were saying, go out and get tested from the get-go. So when we now come at this point in time, we're saying that you're handling this thing incorrectly, right? It's not to say that we're looking to knock you for it, because the fact is you're just now coming to increase the number of testing, right? But we're now looking to have more vaccinations than what we need to have. As of today, I think we're at 6%. Other countries are at 60 and 70 odd percent. But then you ask the other question: where are the vaccines that persons need to get us up to at least 20%, 30%, 40, 50, 60%? Are those vaccines here? Are they readily available? Right? So there are all these questions that need to be answered. So it's not to say that we are getting up to try and score a political point.
Any bashing.
Right?
Necessarily.
We are speaking facts. And the facts are that just engage with us, no man. Right? Not everything is about scoring political points. So engage
COVID don't business, whichever,
exactly.
which shirt you wear.
Exactly. So engage with a broader cross-section than what you're currently engaging with now, so it can happen.
So what you're saying then is that the Patriots attempt to give a much more balanced statement or response to whatever situation is, and probably a much more professional statement. Would you say that?
I would also,
even though it's done in an orange shirt.
Right, and and again, like I said, not all issues are political issues, and we would agree that the party also does pretty well in issuing statements and that sort of thing as well too. So it's not to say that we are better at it, right? Or
No,
the party is better at it, right? No, I'm just being very clear on it.
But you are really attempting to present a outlook, or to ask questions, or to propose positions that at the end of the day, if one were to be balanced when looking at the statements or looking at the questions, you would realize that there is relevance outside of the color of shirt to what you're asking or what you're proposing.
Exactly, because some of the issues that we're saying, all right, crime is a huge problem, COVID is a huge problem, right? Let us have a consensus from now, right? So let us have a crime consensus, let's have a healthcare consensus, and this consensus would indicate that whatever it is, whichever party is in power, right? This is how we treat with crime. This is how we treat with health issues. This is how we treat with education. This is how we treat with social issues. Those sorts of things. Rather than it just being this one-sided approach where, okay, this party is in power now, so therefore that's what you need to do. And that's the sort of
so you're looking at the message, not the messenger.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, we are Jamaicans and we have to deal with what is happening here and now. And outside of politics, outside of election is once every 4 years, or at the whim and fancy of a leader, right? Outside of that, what happens? What do we do, right? We have to maintain this level of understanding that we are Jamaicans, we have to survive, and we all have seen, I mean, you would have read about it and seen instances where persons are telling you, oh, when you're crafting your business model, when you're doing a SWOT analysis, you need to pay attention to the fact that government policy can change and affect your business model. We've heard that from in the 80s, and now you see it happen right here now. The swipe of a pen, and the government policy has changed, and it has impacted on everybody's business.
Viewers, we'll be right back.